we got to talk about this Denver Broncos decision to kick a field goal, a 64-yard field goal, instead of letting Russell Wilson pick up 4th and 5. This sounds like an overreaction, but if I was the Denver Broncos GM or owner, I would fire Nathaniel Hackett this morning because of this coaching malpractice. It's that bad of a decision. Any walk of life, any job, if you mess up your job this badly on this grand of a stage, you would probably get fired. I mean, if you were managing a target and you accidentally burn down the target, you'd probably lose your job. And that's what Nathaniel Hackett basically did. I said this last year, or maybe 2 years ago, with Mike McCarthy. I can't remember the exact situation, but he mismanaged the clock, mismanaged timeouts, and it was such an easy decision that I said right then and there, that's all the proof you need to know that he cannot do the job. I would walk down from the owner's box and I'd fire him on the spot. If Nathaniel Hackett messes up this decision or this sequence, then you can probably ascertain that he cannot be an elite level head coach. And if he can't be an elite level head coach, you might as well just fire him and start anew. So let's watch the sequence here. Let's watch exactly what happened. So it's 3rd and 14. The Denver Broncos had 3 timeouts, and they have 1:11 on the clock, and they have to get in the field goal range to win the game, or to attempt to win the game. This is a lot of time. I mean, this is a lot happening here, you know? So let's say they do on 3rd and 14. We'll kill the audio. The 3rd and 14, they check it down, right? Doesn't it looked like it might have been a read up here and then a pretty quick check down. I mean, I'm not going to say it was designed to be like this, but Captain check down, Russell Wilson is definitely involved. All right, so Williams scampers, right? Williams gets a lot more yards than they thought they were going to get, which Nathaniel Hackett talked about afterwards. He said, I wasn't expecting to get that many yards, you know, which then it's like, oh, what do we do? So at 3rd and 14, with him saying that, with this play, it's almost like, because he has 3 timeouts, so it's almost like he's conceding at this position. In his mind, he's like, all right, we're not going to pick up the first down, so we're just going to punt and try and hold them with 3 timeouts and get the ball back. It almost seems like where he's coming from on the sidelines. So then Williams gets 9 yards, and it leads to a 4th and 5, okay? So it's a 4th and 5 with your timeouts and a 60. So the ball's down. It's a 64-yard field goal outside at sea level with a kicker who has never made a kick over 62 yards. Right here, you blow a timeout, right? You blow a timeout, and you think one way or the other, but you blow a timeout and you think, all right, we got to get 5 yards. How can we pick up 5 yards? Last year, statistically, NFL teams picked up 4th and 5s at a clip of about 45%. We'll round up. About 45%. This would be the second longest field goal ever made in the history of the NFL. So let's just take a really round number. And let's say that Brandon McManus has a 10% chance to hit this field goal, right? A 10%, which is insane. It's probably closer to 5%. So if Brandon McManus has a 5% chance to make the field goal, or you have a 45% chance to pick up the first down, it's insane that Hackett doesn't call a timeout and goes for this field goal. On top of the fact that you just traded / paid this guy right here. You just gave this guy $200 million. You just traded your future for this guy. If you don't trust this guy, a.k.a. Broncos Nation, let's ride. If you don't trust Russell Wilson to cook for 5 yards in this spot, why do you have him? Why do you have this guy? Let's watch how this plays out. So, as you can see, there's 20 seconds left on the clock. They burned a timeout. So, in one fell swoop, they burned the entire play clock down. They burned everything because it was a minute 2 when the play was over. So Russell was running up about a minute. So they burn the entire play clock. Okay. Then call a timeout to set up for the field goal. Insanity. All right. So they go for the 64-yarder. It's missed, obviously. So then Hackett, after all this, after he loses the game, there he is, big doofus, he starts burning his timeouts. He used all of his timeouts on the kneel downs. He saved 3 timeouts on the final drive and used 1 to set up for a 64-yard field goal and then used 2 on the kneel downs. It's absolutely mind-blowing that NFL coaches are messing this up so much. This is what I think's happened, or this is what I know's happened. I think there's so much information available, and there's so much data. Depends on where you're from. I think there's so much data that every decision is quantifiable to where it's not just like saying, well, I kind of had a feeling, or well, he was really juicing it tonight, or well, the emotions of the game. None of that works anymore. And some of these old school NFL coaches, or this older generation of NFL coaches, who when situations like this happen, they rely on old school, like, well, you probably go for the win here, or when you just kick extra points. I saw it in the LSU game. Brian Kelly was down 14, scored late to make it a one-possession game. You're supposed to go for 2 there. You're supposed to go for 2 and attempt, I don't have to explain the whole thing, but you're supposed to go for 2. He just, boom, first, without thinking, let's get the extra point. And then we saw what happened at the end of the game. But I think in these really crunch situations, there's so much happening that these coaches aren't thinking, oh, maybe I should actually do this. Maybe I should actually do that. Instead, they're thinking like, oh, thank God we did this. Boom, and they react. Or, oh, shit, we're in field goal range? Okay, whatever, but whip it. They don't think like, they don't put I hate these terms because they're so overused, but like they don't do the EV. They're not doing the expected value. They're not doing percentages. They're not doing odds. They're not doing these things that are so normal now, which is kind of funny because, I play a lot of blackjack, and it's so commonplace to be sitting at the table and to have someone say like, hey, you're supposed to split those in this situation. It's 8%, whatever. It's so common. Or even in gambling, when I'm sitting at the sports book, I hear people talking in those terms. I hear people in the media talking in those terms to where they're saying like, that old school line of thinking, the 4th and 1, right? 4th and 1, and you're seeing Hackett did it in this game. 4th and 1, you're still seeing people run the ball from the shotgun. Why? Why are you doing that? It is unequivocally worse. You see people running the ball on 2nd and 10. You see people doing things that are old, and it's just not the way to do it. Mismanaging timeouts, all kind of stuff like that. And this is a great example of that. I think what will happen is I think there will be a new position in football where, and maybe even in sports, where a person is on the field or in the skybox, and just like someone who challenges plays and reviews them and tells the coach like, hey, hit the buzzer, I think there will be a team of mathematicians or whatever, data analysts who are crunching every situation, and they're saying, hey, go for 2 here. Hey, don't punt here. Hey, go for it here. Do this. And it's just going to be the norm where you'll see moving forward on the screen, it'll be like Seahawks or Broncos go for it on 4th and 5, 43% chance of success versus 3% chance of making the field goal. You'll see stuff like that in real time because the data is so available. But I think that the coaches have to have someone whose job is to do that, specifically, I think the most egregious thing right now is probably 2-point conversions. I would say is the most, because that's the most obvious, I think, is the 2-point conversions, just doing the quick math of when you're supposed to go for one, when you're supposed to go for two. Those are probably the easiest, I think. Situations where it's like bang, 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 I can see where a coach can mess that up. But timeouts are really bad. End of halves, really bad. 2-point conversions, really bad. But this was just mind-bending, absolutely disgusting. You're seeing more of it now. You're seeing more coaches who are more analytically driven, and that's the funniest part, is that it's not analytics. Like, analytics is just this. Analytics is a word that gets tossed around, but really, when they toss it around, they just mean like stats. They just mean like math, right? And it doesn't take some like analytical genius to do simple math. To go back to blackjack. Like, if you have a 10 and the dealer's showing a 6, it doesn't take a Yale, Harvard PhD in arithmetic to tell you probably need to double down. Like you're going to increase your value of return if you double down. Like that. Those are simple, and I think the NFL has to catch up, or at least these NFL coaches need to catch up. It's been like a trope all over the place, but it is sad that players playing Madden online are leaps and bounds better at clock management and in-game decisions, not just when to call timeouts, but, hey, should I go for 2 here, or should I punt here, or should I go for it here? What should I do? It is sad that you have players on Madden, young kids, who are so much better than multi-million-dollar a year head coaches in the NFL. I mean, it really is sad. So I think it'll catch up, but this was just disgusting. Nathaniel Hackett should be fired. I feel bad for my guy, Russ. Broncos Nation, let's ride.